Hi, and welcome back to Ask DRTK. And today we're going to take a look at a complete XLR condenser microphone kit from Maono. It's the AU-PM320S. Let's check it out. And I've seen quite a number of people using the USB mic offerings from this company. So when I saw they had an XLR kit, I thought maybe we'll check it out and see if there's any value here. Now we'll be testing out the audio performance of this microphone using the Focusrite Scarlett 8i6, the ART voice channel, and the DBX286S. All of these tests will be with unprocessed audio, so we won't be applying any processing to them other than the process demonstration I'll provide later on. And so in this video, first I'll turn back the clock and I'll unbox this microphone kit for you. Then we'll do some unprocessed audio tests, again using the 8i6, the ART voice channel, and the DBX286S. Then I'll go ahead and do some microphone comparisons to some popular alternatives to this microphone. We'll take a look at some physical tests on this, and then we'll do some processed audio, and we'll use plugins with the 8i6, and then we'll use the channel strip functions on the ART voice channel and the DBX286 to give you an idea of the range of sound you can get out of this microphone. All right, so let's unbox this microphone kit. And it's a nice quality box, has a lot of information on it on the front and the back. So let's go ahead and pop this open. And you can see that we get quite a bit of stuff with it in addition to the microphone. First up here, I'll just pull out, there's some instruction sheet, a thank you note. So we'll throw those off to the side. You also get a Velcro strap, which is going to be nice. Get a foam cover for the microphone. We'll test that out and see just how well it works. And also a pop filter with the Maono branding on it. If you're into having the brand show, that may be something you like. Now underneath the first set of foam, quite a few items here. We get a nice shock mount, and it does have a 5/8 to 3/8 adapter. So that's a nice thing that they've included here. Then we get a desk clamp. And this desk clamp actually, it appears to be all metal. It looks pretty solid. Again, pretty standard design, but fairly well made. Then we'll get a boom arm out. Comes with a kind of a standard scissor boom arm here with the springs on the outside. So nothing fancy, but again, for what it is, the quality at first glance appears to be decent. Get a microphone cable. It's pretty heavy. We'll see how quiet it is. And then the microphone itself. And the microphone is a pretty standard look, kind of a miniature version of an AT2020, but fairly well constructed. So let's check all this out. And let's just take a quick look at the specs for this microphone. This is a condenser microphone with a 16mm capsule. It has a polar pattern that's cardioid, so it's going to reject background noise from behind the microphone. Impedance of 200 ohms with a sensitivity of -34 dB. Max SPL is rated at 140 dB, so that's pretty high for a larger diaphragm microphone with a signal to noise ratio of 75 dB and a frequency response of 20 to 18,000 hertz. Now it requires 48 volts of phantom power because of course it is a condenser microphone using an XLR interface. And up until this point, you've been listening to me on the Maono AU-PM320S. I don't have any processing applied to this microphone. It's connected up to the Scarlett 8i6, gain set at about 1130, and I'm getting about -12 dB of gain at 8 inches away from the microphone. So I feel like this is a pretty common working distance for a condenser microphone. Of course, if we move in closer, we can turn that gain down. I'm going to go ahead and I'll turn the gain down to about 10 o'clock. And now I'm in here at about 3-4 inches away from the microphone, getting a little less level there. We'll turn it up again just a little bit. And now I'm back to about 12 dB of gain here at about 3 inches away. So that's kind of what you can expect. We'll go back. Now I've turned the gain up to about 1230. Even that's a little too much. We'll go back down a little bit. About 1230 here, and I'm about a foot away. Even that's pretty high. Turn it down to about noon. And there we are sitting at about noon, about a foot away from the microphone, and I'm getting a gain, again, of about -12 dB. So that's kind of what you can expect from this microphone. Gives you quite a wide working range. I mean, it is a large diaphragm design, so you're going to have some variety here. I like to work at about 8 inches. So I'm going to back this down. Now I'm sitting at about 8 inches away again, 1130 on the gain. And I think this is a pretty reasonable use case for this microphone. Now I'm going to let you hear how much background noise this microphone's picking up. So I'll gradually increase the gain. I'm going to be silent, and you can hear just how much it's picking up. I do have a computer running in the room. The fans are kind of ramped up quite a bit, so keep that in mind. And from my monitoring, I think the noise floor was actually pretty reasonable for this microphone, better than what I would have expected in this price point. So that's a good sign here. No, I've been using the 8i6. I think that's pretty representative as far as the kind of interface preamp combination that many of you will use. But now let's go ahead and listen to this on the preamp only from the ART voice channel. Okay, and now I have the Maono microphone connected into the ART voice channel. Now I'm using the preamp only. This is a tube preamp, so we're going to get some added saturation and harmonics, but I have the compressor and the de-esser, expander, and the EQ all disabled, bypassed. So this is only the preamp on this channel strip that's acting right now. I have the audio routed back analog to the 8i6 from Focusrite and using the converters in there for recording. So just trying to minimize the variables. This is just a different preamp than what we're using in the 8i6. And as you can hear, it does definitely add some coloration to the sound. And the idea is to show you that it's not all about EQ and compression. The preamp that you use makes a difference as well. And while most built-in preamps and interfaces today are fairly transparent, sometimes you may want to have a little bit of coloration depending on the genre that you're making content for, or if you're trying to do voiceover for some kind of application. So I think it's important to consider preamp as well. And later on in this video, I'll do some processing through these channel strips as well, just to show you kind of what you can get with that analog processing effect. But for now, what we have is the preamp only out of the ART into the Focusrite. And this is the kind of sound you get. Now let's go ahead. I'll connect it up to the DBX286. It's another really popular channel strip. Again, it will be preamp only. I'm going to bypass all the other processing on there, and we'll hear what that sounds like. And now you're listening to me with the Maono microphone connected into the DBX286S, preamp only. I have the bypass set here so that we're not using the processing. It still shows active on here, but it is bypass, so we're just getting preamp only. Audio is routing directly back out of the 286S into the Scarlett 8i6, so we're using the converters on that device. And this is what it sounds like with a little different preamp. So, a lot of times we can, again, change a microphone, get a different sound just with the preamp without having to necessarily get a different mic. And I think a lot of times there's this idea that things just sound the way they do, microphones sound the way they do. But in fact, the preamp does make a difference. Most interfaces, preamps are pretty transparent. But if you're interested in going to outboard gear, analog gear, you can definitely get some flavor with the preamps. And now I have this microphone connected up to the Focusrite Scarlett 8i6 again. Gain at 1130, 48 volts phantom power, no processing applied here. And what I'd like to do is go ahead and compare this to a few other microphones. And so we'll have them both on the 8i6, both without processing, so you can get an idea of what the difference is out of the box. And for the first comparison, I have the Maono AU-PM320S, and we're going to compare it to the Audio-Technica AT2020. You can check out the note in the top of the screen to let you know which one I'm speaking through, just to give you an idea of the tone. I've got them both mounted about 8 inches away from my mouth. Gain on the Maono is at 1130, and I have the gain on the AT2020 at about noon. Both are giving me around negative 12 dB, so pretty similar in terms of the audio gain from each one with these settings. Again, no processing applied to these microphones. And this is the sound you get as we go back and forth. The AT2020 is a very popular large diaphragm condenser microphone, kind of at an entry-level price point. The Maono is less expensive and, of course, comes in a full kit. And the look is similar, although, as you can see, the AT2020 is a little bit larger, certainly in build. But the build quality is actually pretty decent on the Maono for the price point. And so this is the sound you get between the two of them. Hopefully this kind of back and forth gives you an idea of what to expect from the Maono against the AT2020 that many of us have heard quite a bit. All right, and for our second comparison, we'll compare the Maono PM320S against the MXL 990 Blaze Edition. The MXL is a little bit more expensive, normally around 140, 150 US dollars. Sometimes you get it on sale for about $100. The Maono actually is on sale, the whole kit for about 60 US dollars as I'm recording this, normally about $75. That'll give you an idea. And just again, the sound difference, both are connected into the 8i6 here. The MXL is a little bit hotter. I have the gain set at 11 o'clock for it versus the Maono, which is at 11:30. Again, both 48 volt phantom power. They're both large diaphragm condensers. No processing applied to the microphones. And again, you check the top out here to see which microphone you're hearing. Hopefully, this gives you an idea of the performance between these two. The MXL 990 actually is popular for voiceover. There's a mod available for it that actually will really increase the performance, level it up to something far different than what it comes out of the box as. But this is a stock version here. And so stock comparison out of the box, no processing between these two microphones. And for our third comparison, I have the Rode Pod mic mounted up here now. So you have the Rode Pod mic into the Focusrite Scarlett 8i6, gain set at about 330 on this microphone. It's, of course, a broadcast dynamic microphone, so a different way of picking up audio than the diaphragm condenser on the Maono. Maono, of course, is still set at 1130 on the gain with 48 volts of phantom power. Again, keep an eye on the notes at the top to tell you which microphone you're listening to. And this comparison, again, these are both popular microphones. Are the Maono is an up and comer, I guess. The Pod mic is very, very popular. And again, the Pod mic in that $100 US price range, a little bit more expensive than the Maono, and of course doesn't include all of the added accessories. But nonetheless, I thought this was a useful comparison. Give you an idea if you're shopping for a new microphone and you're kind of in that $100 ish price point, both of these might be something that you're considering. The main difference, I would say, other than the sound, is by having a dynamic versus the condenser, is of course that you're going to pick up less noise from around the room, less background noise typically with a dynamic microphone, but you will experience more proximity. You know, as I get closer to the road, you're going to notice quite a bit of difference in that. You will notice a bit too with the Maono, but it's certainly the condenser type microphone gives you a lot wider working area. So if you're moving around a bit, you won't experience as many changes perhaps in the sound. So that's something to think about here. But nonetheless, sound on sound comparison, Rode Pod mic versus the Maono PM320S. Okay, and now let's go ahead and compare the Audio-Technica AT2040 broadcast dynamic microphone against the Maono PM320S. And of course, the Audio-Technica being a broadcast dynamic, much like the Pod mic, will be more sensitive to proximity. So again, as I get closer to it, it's really going to get some deeper sound. Unlike the Maono, it's not going to be as affected by that. But I have both connected up to the Scarlett 8i6. I have the AT2040 gain set at about 330, and the Maono again set about 1130. The Maono has phantom power, of course. And again, keep an eye on the note above to see which one I'm talking through. This will give you an idea of the sound comparison in these two types of microphones. And again, I'm actually giving away one of these AT2040 microphones with a Scarlett 4i4 interface and an XLR cable. You can check the pinned comment below for details on how to enter that giveaway. But just as an idea, back and forth between the two, again, the AT2040 is in that $100 price point. Maono is a little less expensive, plus you get the added gear. Which one do you think is better suited for what your use case is? I'd like to hear from you in the comments below. All right, and for our next test, I've thrown the Shure MV7X, another kind of brand new microphone here in the comparison. It's another broadcast dynamic microphone, a little bit higher price point. We're over 200 US dollars now. But again, because of the popularity, I thought I would include it in this comparison. We have them both connected into the Scarlett 8i6. Again, the MV7X is dynamic, so no phantom power, but gain set at 330, whereas the Maono is using 48 volts of phantom power and a gain at 1130. And keep an eye on the notes above for which one I'm talking on. But basically here you can hear the difference between the two microphones, give you an idea whether one is more suited to the audio style you're listening to. Again, these are all unprocessed demonstrations. We'll get to a processed demo with the Maono in a little bit. But again, this is a sound you get out of the box with each of these microphones. And I hope gives you an idea whether one might be more what you're looking for, or perhaps you're wondering if you should be upgrading and spending some more money to get out of that $100 price point. This hopefully will give you some idea. And for the last comparison, I thought I'd throw the Shure SM7B on here. Now, of course, the SM7B is a broadcast dynamic microphone. It's around 400 US dollars, so well over four times, almost five times the price of the Maono microphone. And I wanted to include it just to give you an idea. If you're thinking about should I get a sub $100 microphone, or do I need to wait and spend that money to get up into the SM7B or higher even range? This would give you some idea. I have the SM7B connected up to the 8i6 as well here. Gain is set at 4 o'clock, and I've added an additional 4.5 dB of boost just to keep this an even sound. I don't use a cloud lifter for comparisons with any of the dynamic mics in these types of videos because I really don't want to have a unrealistic, unfair comparison between the two. I want you to hear them as they would be connected into the interface. And so this is what you get for both of these microphones kind of out of the box. And again, looking at the top, you're listening to both. You can have an idea of which one I'm speaking on. Is there enough of a difference between the two for you to justify spending 4 and 5 times the amount of money on an SM7B? Maybe it is if it's an upgrade. Maybe if it's your first microphone, it's not. Let me know in the comments if you have an idea on that. Hope this comparison helps out as well. Now let's go ahead and we'll do actually some physical tests using the Maono microphone. Okay, and I thought I'd do a few physical tests on the microphone now. So we'll start with background noise. Now I'm typing away in a keyboard while I'm talking. And, if you're going to game or something, streaming, you may find this to be an issue. So that'll give you an idea of the background noise that you're going to get there. Now we'll check the handling noise. I'm going to tap on the mic. As I move the arm around, I'll take this moment also to give you an idea. That'll let you know just how much noise this arm might pick up. It's nothing that fancy, but it'll certainly get the job done for you. It's again for what you're getting for the price. I think there's a lot to be said here. So we have that. Let's check out plosives while we're here. People, because, people. Yeah, and I mean we're definitely getting some plosive action. Not terrible there actually. While we're at it, we're going to go ahead and throw the foam filter on that comes with the mic. And so that's the foam filter. You can hear if that makes a difference in terms of the sound quality as well. Is it muffling the sound a little bit? It's hard to tell when you're talking and listening at the same time, but I kind of think I might be losing a little bit of high end here. Again, some plosives, people, because. And yeah, kind of what we'd expect there. I'll take that off. And I'll also just quickly grab the pop filter that's included. Again, this has the Maono branding on it, so if that's something you're interested in, it's there. People, because. And yeah, I mean, that pretty much cleans it all up as I would expect. Nothing a big surprise there. And I'll also show you one other pop filter. This style is pretty popular. It has the mounts that clip onto the back of the mic, and it just sits right on there, makes it really convenient. So we'll go ahead and throw that on the mic. And as you can see, I mean, it's fairly large for this microphone, but gives you an idea of what you could do for a different type of look if you wanted a pop filter still. People, because. I think that does a reasonable job. That cleaned that up again. So that's, what we have as far as plosives are concerned. I don't think it's practical to use this microphone, much beyond about a foot away. I will just quickly back up a little bit. So now I'm at about 2 feet away from the microphone, and this is the sound that you get. It'll pick up a little more room noise. Again, this is a condenser microphone, so kind of what I would expect here. But nonetheless, could be workable. Again, a pretty wide working range, I think, for this microphone, as we looked at a little bit earlier. And now I'm taking the microphone out of the shock mount, and we'll just do a quick little test here on off axis. So I'm right into the microphone now, and I'm turning it over here towards about 90 degrees, and so that's what you get. That's at about 180, so this is out of the back of the microphone and to the other 90-degree position here. And this microphone is a cardioid pattern, and from what I can hear in my monitoring, it sounds pretty faithful to that pattern. It does, pick up obviously a little more room noise because it is a condenser microphone versus a dynamic, but pretty reasonable here, I think, for, again, keeping the price point in mind. Up till now, so far in the test, I have to say it's kind of outperforming my expectations. We'll see what we can do as well with this with a little bit of processing. Okay, and now we're looking at our processed audio demonstration. We're still connected up here to the Focusrite Scarlett 8i6 with the gain set at 1130. But what I've done now is I've added some noise suppression and I have this running into the pre-box with a 76 vacuum tube style boost just for a little bit of harmonics. Then we're going into Neutron 3, and Neutron 3 I have a combination. I have an equalizer set up here, a little bit of boost in the low end here, getting rid of a few resonance, a little cuts for that, gentle little dip here in the middle for boxiness control, a little bit of a dip in for DS here, and pretty flat up at the top for air. This microphone has pretty good presence. A little bit of compression running here, 3.5 to 1. Nothing really major going on. Very, very minor compression, as you can see here. And the exciter as well, I've gone ahead and just added very little bit to that just to bring up the character on this microphone a little bit. So that'll give you an idea of a vocal plug-in chain using in the box processing essentially out of the 8i6. And now what we'll do is we'll go ahead and move this over to the ART voice channel, and we'll run all the processing through that channel strip. Now you're listening to processed audio through the ART voice channel. I have the Maono AU-PM320S connected directly into this channel strip. Then I'm running analog audio out of the channel strip into the Focusrite 8i6 so that I'm using the same converters for this recording, so I didn't want to make any changes that way. And what I've done, of course, is it's running into this. This is a tube preamp, so it's going to have some added coloration, some saturation here. Compression going on, certainly not a ton again here, but just enough to help level out the tone a little bit. Minor de-essing occurring, some expansion. We want to have nice silence and attenuate the sounds that we don't want here. And finally, the EQ. And I've boosted the bass on this microphone a little bit, taken some of the boxiness out of the center. Really didn't need to boost the highs at all because this microphone has plenty of presence. And as you can see, this is the kind of processing you can get out of a channel strip. Little different type of analog hardware here on the microphone. Maybe not an obvious combination with an inexpensive condenser like this, but I just wanted to illustrate, the difference of using a different preamp and processing method, and the flexibility you can have in having a microphone and processing preamp combinations. Now let's go ahead. We'll throw it on the DBX286. It's another really popular channel strip, and we'll see what kind of sound we can get out of that. And now you're listening to me on the DBX286, again, using the Maono AU-PM320S. And what I've done is applied some processing here again. So I've got compression going on. I've brought the drive up and the density up quite a bit here to give a little more fullness and richness to the sound. Very minor de-essing, as you see. Not really getting a whole lot happening through there. Pretty minor de-essing required, actually, with this microphone, which is pretty surprising considering its brightness. A lot of bass enhancement in here again, just to take a little bit of the thinness away from this microphone. Minor enhancement here in terms of the high range. And again, a little bit of expansion here just to clean up the background noise. So popular channel strip, again, maybe not an obvious combination with an inexpensive microphone like this Maono, but nonetheless gives you an idea of the kind of sound you can get with a combination like this. I do these process demonstrations just to give you an idea of what you can do with the mic, how friendly it's going to be to processing, whether it's going to give you a lot of flexibility to tailor the sound, the tone to what you're looking for. Because I think a lot of times people go from microphone to microphone, never really apply any processing, and they just think, well, it has to sound like it sounds out of the box. And that's not really the case. There's a lot of flexibility. Some microphones definitely have a bias. They tend to be darker, some tend to be brighter. And that's an important consideration when you're choosing a microphone. But nonetheless, applying a little bit of time, whether it's in the box with plugins or whether you're using some outboard analog gear, you can definitely tailor up the sound to get what you're looking for. And now I've connected the Maono mic back up to the Focusrite 8i6, and again, gain at 11 o'clock, 48-volt phantom power, no processing applied now. So again, back on the very transparent preamps that the 8i6 has to offer. And I hope you enjoyed that processing demonstration. I wanted you to get an idea of the different tone and dynamics you can model with this microphone. I think that's one of the things that's missing a lot. We take the microphone out of the box for what it is, and we don't think about the gear we have it connected up to or any of the mods we can make. So just again, to give you an idea of what you can get out of this microphone, I have to say overall I'm actually quite impressed for the price with this microphone. It's not going to compete with any very high-end microphones, but in this price point, considering everything you get, I mean, the mic is decent. The cord, like the XLR cable, is pretty decent. It's not that long. I'd say it's probably a 2-meter cable, but certainly sufficient to get going. Pop filter works well. Even the foam filter, it did provide quite a bit of coloration. It definitely muffled the sound, but I would say in general it was quite good. The boom arm certainly is decent. I've got to say, I mean, if you don't move it around too much, it's one of those things where if you're going to be using it a lot, you probably want something a little bit better. But for what's included, really decent. Shock mount actually looks pretty well made, doing a pretty good job of controlling handling noise. So again, surprised and pleasantly surprised for this microphone combination. And I would, I think, recommend it for those starting out that just want to use an XLR mic, getting into that sort of situation with an interface, with an upgrade path for later on. And of course, audio is one of the first things you want to upgrade when you're looking at leveling up your content. So if you're interested in microphones, interfaces, preamps, and more, check out one of the videos on the screen. As always, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.